The White House keeps pushing for a Palestinian state, something Israel is rejecting. And at the same time, the conflict that began in Gaza is spreading throughout the region. Here's CBN Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell.
On Sunday, Prime Minister Netanyahu rejected Hamas's demands for a deal to end the war. The terror group sought a ceasefire, the end of Israel's military campaign, and the release of Palestinians held by Israel in exchange for the remaining hostages.
If we agree to this, our warriors fell in vain. If we agree to this, we will not be able to guarantee the security of our citizens. We will not be able to return the evacuees safely to their homes. And next October 7th will only be a matter of time. I am not ready to put up with such a fatal injury to Israel's security, so we will not agree to it.
Netanyahu also denied a claim by President Biden that the prime minister might be open to some type of two-state solution.
My insistence is what prevented for years the establishment of a Palestinian state, which would have posed an existential danger to Israel. As long as I am Prime Minister, I will continue to firmly stand by it. If someone has a different position, let them show leadership and state their position honestly to the citizens of Israel.
Meanwhile, Iran's president vows to avenge Saturday's Israeli strike that killed 5 Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps leaders in Syria. The strike raises concerns of a wider war between Iran and Israel. The U.S. also struck a top Shiite leader in Baghdad, responsible for some of the more than 120 rocket and drone attacks on U.S. troops in Syria and Iraq. In the north, Israel warned that the window is closing for a diplomatic plan to push Hezbollah back from the northern border before it's forced to take action. Last month, they gave the U.S. the end of January as a deadline, but a report Friday noted they might give more time. On Sunday, the IDF released footage of a Gaza tunnel where it appears Hamas kept 20 hostages. The footage showing several rooms with mattresses on the ground, dirty dishes, and a bathroom, and a drawing from 5-year-old Amelia Aloni. The tunnel stretches for about half a mile and is more than 60 feet deep. 136 hostages still remain in Hamas captivity.
And Chris Mitchell joins us now from Jerusalem with more. So, Chris, many people are certainly focusing on Benjamin Netanyahu's opposition to a Palestinian state. But isn't that opposition widespread throughout Israel's government?
Not only the government, Ephraim, and especially after October 7th, but I would say most of the population really doesn't have an appetite for a Palestinian state. There was some there on the border of Gaza who were very much in favor of pro-Palestinian state. They were attacked on October 7th. They worked with Palestinians from Gaza. Many of them took Palestinians to the hospital. Many of those that lived in the kibbutzim on the border have had a change of heart. And I think that reflects much of what's happening in the Israeli population right now. Politically, and as you say, you saw that in Netanyahu, he's the one saying that he can prevent the U.S. and the international community from forming a Palestinian state because of the lot of pressure from the Biden administration and others that a two-state solution is the only solution after the war in Gaza is over.
Now, Chris, some analysts are arguing how they think a Palestinian state could be created. What is being said, and are these ideas regarded as feasible in Israel?
Well, first of all, they say they want to revitalize Palestinian Authority. They want a new entity. They're calling it, it's got to be credible, legitimate, effective Palestinian partner, that they would be representatives of the Palestinian people. However, Ephraim, polls show right now that the majority of the Palestinian people don't even support the Palestinian Authority. They support Hamas. So what these proposals do from the Biden administration, actually journalists like Thomas Friedman, they seem to disregard that most of the Palestinians in the West Bank, Judea and Samaria have these views. They actually want Hamas to lead them. And so most Israelis don't see this as credible, and they reject any kind of Palestinian or possible state like this. Some believe that Anthony Blinken, U.S. Secretary of State, and the Biden administration are either ignoring or not recognizing the facts on the ground. And as one expert here said, they're trying to make their vision fit reality instead of seeing reality and then seeing what's possible. The ones supporting a Palestinian state, they really see that as a solution to the major problems here in the Middle East.
Now, you just traveled to one of the kibbutzes where the October 7th attacks happened. Tell us what you saw.
Well, we went to a place called Kfar Aza, Ephraim. It was one of the 22 communities that were attacked by Hamas on October 7th, right on the border with Gaza. There in that kibbutz, you can see just about a mile away is the Gaza city. What happened on October 7th, they came and murdered more than 60 in that particular kibbutzim. As we were briefing by an IDF officer who took us around there, was telling us the stories of people being raped, sexually assaulted, some beheaded. And actually, she made the point, this was part of the first wave of terrorists who came on originally, but they were followed by regular civilians by Gaza, something that's really not reported much. They also raped, murdered, and sexually assaulted some of those people in the kibbutzim, like Kfar Aza. They also robbed and looted, and it's important to see what we did there in person, to see what happened in that kibbutz, because the denial of what happened on October 7th is increasing. It's on social media, and it's part of the conversation that that day never really happened. Perhaps it was artificial intelligence. But when you're there on the ground, you see a whole different reality.
Indeed. Now, you also went to a tree planting ceremony for the families of those murdered at the Nova Music Festival. Tell us about that.
Well, an organization called the Jewish National Fund, they plant trees here for decades. They hosted a number of the families that were murdered on October 7th at the Nova Music Festival. There were hundreds of Israelis that were murdered there, maybe almost 400. It was really sad, Ephraim, to see them crying, mourning, and memorializing their loved ones with these eucalyptus trees that were planted all the way through part of that grounds where so many died. They were really slaughtered that day, and they believe that this is one way to bring some comfort to many of those people there, bring some closure. But to see them there mourning their sons, daughters, sisters, brothers, friends, it was a very moving situation, and very tender to see what's happening there for these many of these family and friends.
Our prayers continue. Chris Mitchell joining us now from Jerusalem. Thank you so much for your insight. Please stay safe.